Hello everyone, welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I'm here to talk about a new Netflix series. I'm gonna do a thing where I talk about certain series on Netflix. I'm gonna do something on Stranger Things. I'm gonna do something on a couple other shows that were on Netflix. I'm just gonna call it watching the flick, like just watching the flick, watching Netflix. And I'm gonna start with a show that I seen on Netflix. Just came out a couple weeks ago called Altered Carbon. Now I've seen the trailers for this show. And it's weird looking. And I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. And honest to God, I thought it was going to be terrible. I was like, oh my God, Joel Kinnaman. And if you wonder who Joel Kinnaman is, the lead in the show. If you wonder who Joel Kinnaman is, I think his name is Joel Kinnaman. I can't, it might be something else. I think it's that. I know he's the guy who played Rick Flag in Suicide Squad. That's, if you're wondering who he is, he's that guy. And I saw him in that. And I was like, I mean, he wasn't bad in it. But so he's the lead in this. And the show it's a complicated show. It's a complicated show. The show itself is part Blade Runner, part Fifth Element. To me, it's like Blade Runner and Fifth Element had a child. That's what the show is. Altered Carbon is Blade Runner and Fifth Element hooked up in a hotel, a sleazy hotel, and this kid just came up out of, just popped out, called Altered Carbon. And for the most part, it works. It works. It's a really good show. I give it credit. It got renewed for a second season, so obviously people also believe it's a good show. But I dig it. It really is. I'm not exaggerating when I say it's kind of like an amalgamation between Blade Runner and Fifth Element. It's got that weirdness to it that Fifth Element had, but it's got the neon signs and this noir vibe to it that Blade Runner has. The show is in those vibes mixed together for the most part well. You know what? I'm gonna start. I was trying to debate if I'm gonna start off with the positives about the show and dig into the negatives, but I'm gonna start off with the negatives so that I can end on the strong note, because the positives outweigh the negatives, so the negatives are gonna be kind of fast. The show itself can sometimes play like an anime, and not how you're thinking. You know how certain animes can be a little more too artsy for their own good? Sometimes this show does that. It comes up every once in a while. It's usually flashes there, but sometimes the show is just trying to do too much. I'm not gonna spoil it, but there are certain aspects of the show that you're like, okay, you didn't need that, you didn't need this, you could have done without that. You could have wrapped this whole thing up a little bit faster if you didn't have this other thing. Then there's times where they are just throwing crap at you visually that you're just like, look, this is cool, this is weird looking and all, but I'm like, dude, is this really necessary? There are things in the show that aren't really necessary. Not that it takes away from the movie, or that it even takes away from the plot or anything. It's just distracting. There are certain things in the movie of the show that are distracting. Another thing will be that oh shit, what was I gonna say? Okay, another thing would be that a lot of time that not the action sequences, it was something that sometimes the show could go too far with certain things. Sometimes it needs to reel itself back in. But that's the biggest complaint, really, is that sometimes it can go too far. Sometimes it doesn't make any. Sometimes certain things don't make sense if you don't catch it. And for the most part, the biggest complaint of the show is that sometimes it goes too far, and it kind of goes. You can feel, but the thing about the show is, I was thinking, I thought about it because I finished it yesterday, and I thought about it and kind of dwelled on it. I want to completely give the show crap, but it's hard to give it crap because you can just feel there were some men and women in a room. I don't know, it might be a group of men, might be a group of women. I think it's a group. I think it's a woman. I think a woman directed it. I can't remember. Who just sat in a room. I think I said it the moment I got done watching it. I was like, I would have loved to have been in that room when they're coming up with this, because you could just tell this was inspired. This was people sitting in a room going, this would be cool, and this would be cool, and what if we did something like this, and what if we did something like this? Sometimes they got a little carried away and they just threw it in there anyways. And like I said, there's certain things that don't make much sense, and certain things that are kind of cliche, and certain aspects, I'd probably say, other than the twist that happens, which I'm not going to spoil, most of the show you can sort of kind of predict. Well, chunks of the show anyways. Chunks of the show you can kind of sort of predict. There are things that's not as predictable as something that's called Frontier, which I'll review that another time. That show is completely predictable. It's not that predictable, but it is. Sometimes you can see where it's going. Other than that, That's all the complaints I have. But those complaints are pretty, noticeable to the fact that like I can't give it a perfect 10 or anything like that. I can't I might not even be able to get it a 9. Those complaints are noticeable. They're noticeable enough to me. And there are a couple other complaints, but I can't completely remember off the top of my head because, like I said, I've had a moment and it's fresh and I binged the whole thing. That's why I can't binge something, because once you binge something, the shit soaks and then just kind of leaves you. So I gotta stop binging shit. But yeah, the show, it had a couple, like I said, it had a couple things that were a little wonky, a couple logical leaps, couple plot holes, and it comes at you pretty hard, and sometimes once in a while it comes at you, it overwhelms you with shit that it's like, is this necessary? And whoa, just chill out for a second, okay? Other than that, let's get into the positives. First of all, Joel Kinnaman, forget Suicide Squad. I loved him in this show. He did I don't know if it's his accent, but he did a great job of portraying this badass motherfucker, true badassery. This badass motherfucker who just knows what to say in the right moments. He pulls it off, and good God, that is a mountain of a man. It got me off guard. I'm looking at show and it's going through, and I'm like, good God, that is a mountain of a man. But mountain of a man. I'm like, dude, yeah, you've been hitting the gym, man. And I love this performance. There's a couple other performances in the show that stood out. There's a couple, and the story is just complicated. But I'll get into the story a little bit later. But Joel Kinnaman did a great job as the lead. The mystery because the movie is about, what, I'll just tell you right now. The show is about this. It's about this. Okay, I'm trying not to spoil it. I'm trying to figure out how to do this without spoiling. Okay, the show is about this. It takes place in the future, the way into the future, and in the future we have figured out how to stay immortal by printing our consciousness onto little disc devices called shit, man, what was they called? These little disc devices. Oh man, altered carbon. Now these little disc devices, called stacks. They have all your memories, essentially your entire being, your soul, your consciousness are on these stacks. And everyone has them, and everyone has these stacks, So you can never, your body, so they started to call bodies just sleeves, because we have gotten cloning technology down so much that you could just clone another body and put cloning technology. I like how they did cloning technology, because a lot of times people think cloning technology, it's a different clone, it's a totally different, no, when they clone a person, the body that they clone of the person is just the body. It's just the body. There's nothing in it. The body will move and whatnot, but it has no consciousness, it has no personality or nothing until you put a stack in there, and then whoever stack you put in it, that person will wake up inside of that body, which goes for some hilarious and sad moments where a different person gets stuck in a different body. There's a lot of instances of a woman getting her stack, because that's the thing that's pretty much giving her life, put inside of a man, and her being all weirded out by being in a man. And there's some interpolitics between that obviously would come with that, but I don't want to get too much into it. But anyways, the show's about this. The show takes place in the future where we have that kind of technology, so you can only imagine that other technology we have because it takes place in the future. But one of the main big pits of the show is the stacks, because everyone can live. And there's this whole this whole political and religious aspect to the show, where there are religious people going, should we be playing God like that? People should have to die because if you live. And then there's this whole aspect of, is living forever right? Is living too long a bad thing? Will it become a bad thing? And it kind of interestingly answers that question of what, and it's kind of basically shows what would society be if we figured out how to stay immortal. And that's what it would be. It'd be worse. And it might be worse. Who knows? But anywho, the show is about this guy named, I'm gonna just call him Poe, because I think he has a weird name, because he's technically, his mom was Asian and his father was Russian, so he has this weird name. He has a weird ass name that I cannot remember for the life of me. I'm gonna just call him Poe. It's about him, and apparently, I'm not trying to spoil it, it's about this guy named Poe, who was a fucking terrorist or something, who was technically a rebel fighter, but they call him a terrorist, whatever, and he got captured by people, and he was put to prison. In this world, when you're sent to prison, they just take the chip. They just take your chip out of your, because it's right here in the back of your neck. They just take the chip out and then just destroy your body and then place your chip in like some random location. And that's how you do time. That's how you do time in this world. They don't put you in jail cells anymore unless it's like super low. Unless it's like, you know, when you go do hard time, they take your chip out, put it in a random location, and there is no guarantee. By the way, in this world, there's no guarantee you get your body back. There's no guarantee they clone you a body. They just say they're going to give you a body. They might give you a random ass body. They're going to give you a random ass body, different age, different sizes. You never know. There's a sad scene where a little girl had passed away and her parents like couldn't pay some insurance or something. Well, no, she like her body was destroyed. That's what this show does that too. The way they treat the body is like the human body in this world is just like clothes. That's what the human body is. Like, people freak out when someone gets destroyed, but the first thing they go, well, is their stack okay? Is their stack okay? Because if their stack okay, then you just clone another body, throw them right in that bitch, and they'll be fine. Which, it takes a while to get used to that, but once you get used to it, you start thinking that way that everyone else is thinking about the human body. But it's so interesting to see that all these people thinking of the human body that way. It's fun. It's fascinating, really. It's fascinating. But yeah, and there's a sad scene where a little girl dies, and like her parents couldn't pay the insurance or something, so they just threw her in a random body, and they threw her in the body of an old woman. Basically, they gave her the cheapest body cloned body that no one wants. And I'm pretty sure the cloning process probably goes something along the lines of you get paid. You know the way you donate like blood or something? I'm pretty sure, and you get like, if not blood, if you donate something like a kidney or something, you might get paid or something. I'm pretty sure it goes like that. Like, people get paid to let them clone them so that they can sell those clones to other people who don't want to die or are sick, so you can just get into it. Like, we have literally, like, in this world, we have figured a way around death, essentially. The only way you can truly die is if they crunch up your device in your neck. If they crunch up your stack. If they don't crunch up your stack, you're gold. If they don't crunch up if your stack's intact, it doesn't matter what happens to you. But yeah, so, and the show it's really, and the main crux of the show is a detective story about that character named Paul I told you about. He got woken up by these rich guys. They call him Mims or something. They call them something M's, and they're like they live up in the clouds, and they're super rich, and they're super pricks, and all that. And he's working for this guy to solve a murder. And that's really the premise of the show. That's really the whole crux of the show. Anything else would be spoiler, but it's a crime story that takes place in way in the future where human bodies are just kind of like clothes in this world, because we figured out a way around that. We figured out a way around our limitations, and we figured out a way around death. Though the show asks, is that a good thing? I mean, let's get to the really crux of this show. This show's action sequences are freaking great. There are 3 action sequences. Like, there's other good action sequences through the course of the show, but there are 3 particular that are fucking fantastic. One takes place, I think, in like between 1 and 4, and another one takes place in the middle, and another one takes place at the end. But man, that middle one was bad fucking ass. I remember watching it going, replay, because that was bad fucking ass. The action is awesome. When it happens, it happens. It looks cinematic too. It looks like a movie. Sometimes, most of the time, it looks like a movie. And like, it plays off like a big movie. There are some shows on Netflix that you can tell are a show. You know what I mean? Like, you're just like, I love the Netflix Marvel stuff. But other than Daredevil Season 1, everything else I can tell is a show. Not that it's bad. I mean, great shows. Everything else I can tell is a show. Altered Carbon does an amazing job of making you feel like you're watching one big, long, continuous movie. Fantastic job with that. Like I said, there were good cast members. The woman who played the cop was great. All of it was great. Like, a lot of this show was great. It was great. It was interesting. It was complicated. It had problems. Had a hell of a twist that I did not see coming a mile away. I mean, Joel Kinnaman was a great lead. The world they built was interesting, and it made me want to, like, explore it more, so I'm happy they're getting to Season 2. It's an interesting world. I give Altered Carbon an 8.5. I give Altered Carbon an 8.5. I can't wait to come back for next season. Thank you for joining me on Comic Game Movie Show. Please remember to like and subscribe. Comment below. Have you seen Altered Carbon? What did you think about Altered Carbon? I rather enjoyed it a lot. Give it an 8.5. great action, great setting, great environment, interesting topics, interesting way they go about answering those topics, and it's not entirely black and white. Though it does get near the end, it becomes what you think it's gonna become. That's another complaint I might have missed, is that throughout the show it's this interesting black and gray. I'm not quite sure what is going on, and then about near the end you're like, okay, it's black and white. We know what's happening right now. It's just black and white. But it doesn't happen to the end, and by that point you're already invested in it, so you're just like, okay, cool. That's how shows get you. It's like, I'm already invested, so okay. Took me a while to realize Daredevil's season 2 ending actually wasn't as great as I hoped it was, as great as I remember it being, but I was just so invested that I was just like, okay, cool, alright. But thank you for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. Please remember to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.